The thunderclap rattled the windows like a gunshot, and I froze mid-sip of my lukewarm coffee, the mug slipping from my fingers to shatter on the kitchen tile. Rain hammered the roof of my creaky old Craftsman in Portland's Alphabet District, turning the world outside into a blurred watercolor of grays and greens. But it was the knock, sharp, insistent, almost drowned out by the storm, that yanked me from my stupor. "Declan?" A voice rasped through the door, low and broken, like it carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken regrets. "Please, I don't know where else to go." I yanked the door open before I could think better of it, and there he was, a stranger soaked to the bone, his dark curls matted against a face that looked like it had been carved from the same stormy night. Water streamed down his sharp jawline, pooling at his boots, scuffed Doc Martens that screamed East Coast transplant, maybe Brooklyn or Boston. He was my age, late 20s, with eyes the color of smoked whiskey, wide and haunted, clutching a battered leather backpack like it was the only thing tethering him to the earth. Behind him, the street was a river of runoff, sodium lamps casting halos on the empty sidewalk. No car in sight, no one chasing him that I could see. But the way his shoulders hunched, like he was bracing for a blow, told me whatever had driven him here wasn't finished with him yet. "I'm Justin," he said, teeth chattering, not stepping forward until I nodded dumbly and swung the door wider. My phone died. Rental car broke down 2 blocks over. I saw your light on. Sorry to." "Get in," I muttered, the words tumbling out before hospitality or caution could catch up. Portland in November was no place for drowned rats, stranger or not, and something in his voice hooked into me, sharp as a fishhook. I was Declan Hayes, 28, freelance graphic designer by day, insomniac barfly by night, the guy who'd moved west 5 years ago to outrun a family that still whispered disappointment every Christmas call from Cincinnati. My life was a loop of takeout tie and half-finished sketches, safe in its solitude, until that knock. He dripped across my threshold, leaving a trail from the foyer to the living room where I shoved a threadbare quilt at him. The fire I'd lit earlier against the chill crackled mockingly as he peeled off his sodden jacket, revealing a faded band tee Neutral Milk Hotel, a detail that hit me like a shared secret. "Thanks, man," he said, rubbing his arms, goosebumps rising on skin pale as milk. "I owe you. Big time." We talked in fits and starts over reheated ramen, the storm a relentless percussion outside. He was from Philly originally, a photojournalist who'd chased stories from Aleppo to the Amazon. But lately, burned out, he admitted, staring into his bowl. "Last gig in Seattle went south. Editor screwed me over, cut my pay after I turned in the piece on the opioid crisis up here. Figured Portland was close enough to crash cheap while I regroup." His laugh was bitter, self-deprecating, and it cracked something in my chest. I knew that sound. I'd made it myself after my ex, Tyler, bailed 2 years back, leaving me with a sublet and a drawer full of his forgotten hoodies. By midnight, the rain had eased to a patter, and we'd migrated to the couch, a bottle of my emergency bourbon between us. Stories spilled out like the floodwaters outside. His childhood in a row house packed with siblings, mine in a sprawling Midwest suburb where Dad coached Little League and Mom baked pies for the PTA, both oblivious to the son who spent high school lockers stealing glances at the quarterback. "First guy I kissed was in college," Justin confessed, swirling his glass, the firelight dancing in his eyes. "Behind the stacks in the library. Felt like the world cracked open." I nodded, throat tight, and told him about the summer fair in Ohio. The Ferris wheel stall with a boy named Riley who tasted like cotton candy and heartbreak when his dad found out. It wasn't just talk. It was the kind of raw, unfiltered connection that sneaks up on you, like fog rolling off the Willamette. When his hand brushed mine reaching for the remote, some indie flick flickering on the TV, forgotten, I didn't pull away. Neither did he. Our fingers laced tentative. Then sure. And when he leaned in, breath warm against my neck, whispering, "Declan, is this okay?" I answered by closing the gap, our lips meeting soft and searching, tasting of bourbon and rain and the electric promise of what-ifs. The next morning dawned gray but mercifully dry, sunlight slicing through the blinds like a hesitant apology. Justin lingered over coffee, sketching lazy patterns on my palm with his thumb, and by noon, we'd wandered out to Powell's City of Books, the world's largest independent bookstore, a labyrinth of temptation just blocks away. He bought me a dog-eared copy of The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde, grinning like he'd handed over state secrets. "For the guy who designs logos but dreams in stories," he said, and I felt seen, truly seen, for the first time since Tyler's ghost had faded. Weeks blurred into a rhythm I hadn't known I craved. Justin sublet a room in a Pearl District loft, but he was at my place most nights, his backpack spilling camera gear across my coffee table, his laughter filling the silences I'd grown too comfortable with. We hiked Forest Park at dawn, the moss-draped Doug firs whispering approval as we stole kisses under the canopy. He photographed me against graffiti-splashed bridges, capturing the curve of my jaw in golden hour light, while I mocked up album covers for his indie band friends back east. Portland wrapped around us like a flannel blanket, craft brew tastings in brew pubs, vegan food trucks on sunny afternoons, quiet drives along the Columbia Gorge where the wind whipped our words into confessions. "I love this," he murmured one evening, tangled in sheets as rain tapped the window again, his head on my chest. "You. Feels like I can breathe here." I traced the freckles across his nose, heart swelling with a terror-laced joy. Love, real and reckless, had crashed into my ordered world, and for once, I didn't want to run. But cracks spiderwebbed in, subtle at first. Late-night calls he took in the kitchen, voice hushed and urgent. "No, Mom, I told you it's fine." Hanging up with a forced smile when he caught me listening. Texts lighting up his phone from an unknown number. Thumbs flying in replies he deleted too quick. I chalked it up to freelance stress, the ghost of his exes, but doubt gnawed like damp rot. The betrayal hit on a Friday in December, the city strung with holiday lights that mocked the chill in my gut. I'd surprised him at his loft after a gallery opening. His photos of forgotten Rust Belt towns, raw and aching, had drawn a crowd, and I'd beamed from the back like a proud fool. But when I let myself in with the key he'd given me, voices filtered from the bedroom. His low and pleading, and another, familiar, edged with accusation. "You're throwing it all away for him?" The words sliced through the door, and I froze, keychain digging into my palm. I knew that timbre, East Coast clipped, paternal thunder. Pushing the door ajar, I saw them. Justin, shirt half-buttoned, facing a man in his 50s, silver temples and a Brooks Brothers coat, arms crossed like a prosecutor. His father. "We flew out here to drag you home, son. That piece you wrote, the one exposing the family business, it's ruined us. Investors pulling out, your brother's future." "Dad, stop," Justin hissed, but his eyes darted guilty, landing on me in the doorway. The air thickened, charged as the storm that had brought him here. "It's not like that. Declan, You used me?" I choked out, the pieces slamming together. The opioid expose he'd mentioned offhand, the one that went south. I'd seen the article online weeks ago, buried in a local rag, pharma execs dodging blame, a company named Hargrove Industries at the center. Justin's last name, his family's empire, crumbling under his lens. And me, the safe harbor, the cover story, the idiot who'd fallen without vetting the wreckage. His dad sneered, "Kid, you think this is love? He's a rebound, a phase. Come home, fix this." But Justin's face crumpled, reaching for me. "Declan, wait, it's more than that. I came here running, yeah, but you're the reason I stayed." I bolted, the stairwell a blur, hail starting to spit from the sky like frozen accusations. Portland streets swallowed me, wet and indifferent, as I replayed every touch, every whisper. Was it real, or just a hideout from the fallout? He found me hours later at our spot, a derelict pier off the Willamette, waves slapping pilings like impatient applause. Soaked again, backpack slung low, he dropped to his knees in the mud, grabbing my hands. "I should have told you, from the start. The article. It was truth, Declan. They poisoned towns like yours in Ohio, cut corners on pills that killed kids. I couldn't stay silent, even if it torched everything." Tears mixed with rain on his cheeks. "My family, they think it's a betrayal. But you're the only honest thing I've touched in years." The climax roared in like the gorge winds, his father's ultimatum echoing in my head. Choose us or him. And Justin's raw plea, "I choose you." Every damn time. Conflict tore at me. Trust shattered, yet love's stubborn roots digging deeper. I thought of Tyler's clean break, the numbness that followed. This was Messier, alive with stakes. Prove it, I demanded, voice cracking over the river's roar. Cut them off. Stay. Build something real. He nodded, fierce and broken, pulling me into an embrace that tasted of salt and second chances. We stumbled back to my place through the onslaught, the storm mirroring the one inside, fury giving way to fragile calm. Months later, spring thawed the city, cherry blossoms dusting the sidewalks like confetti for survivors. Justin's freelance gigs bloomed, ethical docs for nonprofits, his lens now trained on hope. Community gardens in food deserts, queer youth centers in the burbs. His family, radio silence, a scar that ached on holidays, but he called it freedom. We adopted a mutt from the shelter, a scruffy terrier named Whiskey, and painted the kitchen a defiant cobalt blue. It wasn't perfect. Nights when doubt crept in, whispers of what if, or the echo of that knock like a ghost at the door. But in the quiet hours, his head on my shoulder, Portland's skyline winking beyond the window, I knew. Love isn't a shelter from the rain. It's dancing in it, drenched and defiant. What started with a stranger's plea ended with two lives woven tight, humanistic in its imperfection. Proof that betrayal's sting fades, but chosen hearts endure.